If you want an AFK way to train combat or just something easy to kill, but one that still makes you decent money and can be done at low or mid level, with one even free to play, then these are all of the best AFK combat moneymakers in old school RuneScape that are at least 500,000 GP per hour. And as always, for a little bit of fun, within the video I've hidden an item worth at least 10 million GP, and the first person to find it and timestamp it with their username gets it. So for the first one, all you're going to need is a Zami robe piece, a Monk's robe piece, one for the top and one for the bottom, which also give you a decent amount of prayer bonus which helps with the method, then an Armadillo pendant that you can get from the quest to Temple of Ikov, or any other armor piece is fine. The method is in the wilderness, but we aren't sculling and barely risking anything at all. Next, you just need a ranged weapon and ammo, 3 prayer potions, a ranging potion, a glory, or any other level 30 teleport method, and a burning amulet to get there. The only stats you require is either level 60 agility or level 70 strength, 40 prayer for protection from missiles, and I recommend at least 50 range. Use the burning amulet to teleport to the bandit camp, run a little bit west away from the bandits, and then all the way north to the wilderness God Wars dungeon. When you get there, use the agility entrance if you can, but if you don't have the level, use the strength entrance and protect from melee and run to the northwest corner. Here there are no bandos creatures at all, and you have every other god item on you, so nothing's gonna attack you unless you attack it first. Then you just simply protect from missiles, attack every Avianti under level 100 with auto retaliate on, and every few minutes just pick up the loot. They drop 4 noted Addy bars quite commonly, runite limbs, rune daggers, and ensouled heads worth 5,000 GP each. You can do this method in the normal God Wars dungeon, but the Addy bars aren't noted unless you have completed the hard from Nectari. And you get the odd PK here, but people don't risk much here, so it's not really worth PK's time, and it's generally pretty quiet. In 25 minutes I didn't bank once and I killed 71 of these. Obviously you can bank more often if you prefer, and the loot was worth 242,000 GP, so after cost this will make you just over 500,000 per hour. The next one requires level 77 Slayer to do. You don't need Slayer for all of these methods, but you will find training Slayer will give you access to overall better GP per hour methods. All you need is a basic range setup. I deliberately did this with one that only costs about 10 million GP. A ranging potion, 3 prayer potions, and a super anti-fire potion each trip. Use a Xerix talisman and pick option 3, the Inferno, and then run east. Drink your potion and go down the hole just southeast of the altar. Keep your distance from these and protect from magic, and you won't take any damage at all. They are aggressive, so you don't need to keep changing targets. Another one will just attack you after every kill. These have a consistently solid drop table with dragon bones and 2 black D hides every single kill. It's very AFK, but you do have to bank about every 10 minutes for this method. I did 7 kills in 9 minutes, with an average brutal black dragon kill being worth 27,000 GP. Taking into account the time it takes to bank and the cost of supplies, this method is 1.7 million GP per hour. Next one is a free to play method that simply requires a rune sim, rune plate body, amulet of power, and then some cheap defensive gear like mithril, leather boots, and any cape. Then just grab yourself some food and you're good to go. This one is also in the wilderness, but in free to play, it's just completely deserted, so you will very rarely run into any PKs, and if you do, you're only risking mithril and cheap defensive gear anyway. Teleport to Ferox Enclave using the last man standing minigame teleport, and run north to just above the hunter icon on the map. You can do this method at almost any level, it's just far more efficient the better your stats are. You're going to kill the moss giants here, and whilst they have a few items that you may wish to pick up, the main reason for coming here is the mossy key. You could kill the moss giants in Edgeville dungeon, which is a safe zone if you prefer, but the chance of getting a mossy key here is 1 in 60 in the wilderness, but only 1 in 150 in Edgeville. I believe the increased drop rate also applies to free to play. Any creature in the wilderness is always aggressive regardless of combat level, so just position yourself in the middle of a few of them and they'll keep attacking you. Every single key that you get gives you 1 attempt to kill a moss giant boss, which is very easy to do, and every kill at that boss is worth 80,000 GP on average. A large part of that money is from the essence, which is now over 7 million GP each, and a 1 in 118 drop. So the money you actually end up making is very dependent on RNG, but at the rate I was killing him, it made 700,000 GP per hour on average. The wiki does say that this is just 400,000 GP per hour, and it's probably because I'm max, which is why I was getting more. Therefore, depending on your levels, you can make between 400 and 700,000 GP per hour. This one is our first boss, and you can probably guess which one. Realistically for this, you're going to need to have the Falador Hard Diary completed. because the giant mole isn't very AFK when you have to find it all the time, and the diary shows the location whenever it digs underground and moves. All you need is full directs and your best melee ring, cape, boots and gloves, Falador Shield 3 to track the mole, some prayer pots, a dwarven rock cake or a method of lowering your health, a combat and a stamina potion. Dig on any of the little mounds here in Falador to access the lair, get your health to 1 HP, find the mole and attack it using protect from melee, and you won't take any damage at all. Every hit has a 1 in 4 chance of the mole digging and changing locations when it is below half health, but since Direct is a very slow hitting weapon that hits high, you only usually move about once every couple of kills. In 10 minutes I got 8 kills which earned me 232,000 GP, and that works out to just under 1.4 million GP per hour. This one has another Slayer requirement of 84 Slayer, but the creature itself is very easy to kill. You can use melee or range, you take no damage of ranging and only a small amount when using melee. You just need your best gear. Again, I've used a very basic setup for this one, just so you can see how easy it actually is. You're going to need Boots of Stone to access the area. This creature is classed as a wingless dragon, so the Dragon Hunter crossbow and lance are very good here, although not necessary as I'll show you. You also need some super anti-fire, a ranging potion or super combat potion if using melee, some nature and fire runes for high alchemy and prayer pots, plus some food but only if you're going to use melee. Go into the mountain and head up to the next floor to access drakes, which are a very good and underrated creature. By using super anti-fire, it means the special attack the drake does deals 0 damage on you even if you don't move, and by protecting from range this mitigates all other attacks too. They're aggressive from quite far away, so you can AFK for a few minutes at a time quite comfortably here. Even in melee range they rarely hit you, and every drop on average is worth 8,500 GP. In 30 minutes I did 15 kills with this basic setup, which makes this about 500,000 GP per hour after supply costs. Not the most money, but one of the most AFK of all of them. This one also has a Slayer requirement, but it's much better money and only requires level 66, although it's slightly more money at level 82 Slayer. You need your best melee or range setup. These are also weak to Dragon Hunter weapons again, but the Fang is practically as good. You have to wear an Elemental Shield, Mind Shield, DFS, Ward or Ancient Wyvern Shield. For the inventory, you're going to need Super Combat or Ranging Potion if you're going range, plus 3 to 4 Prayer Potions and some good food. Off task, you can only kill Fossil Island Wyverns in this cave here. The Ancient Wyverns are the best for money currently, but not by much, and the second best is the lowest level one here, which is the Spitting Wyvern. So if you are low level, I recommend killing them instead, or even if you just want to AFK a little bit more as they do less damage. These will again aggro you from quite far away, so with auto retaliate on, you'll constantly be in combat without paying too much attention. You just need to top up your health and pick up loot every couple of minutes. They don't do tons of damage if you have good stats, but they do a reasonable amount. You'll kill one usually in just under a minute on average, with drops being worth 20,000 GP. The Ancient Wyverns make you 1.3 mil per hour, and the Spitting Wyverns 1.1 million. The next one is almost identical to the last, exactly the same setup again, and you can go range or melee in your best gear with a DFS, Elemental Shield, Wyvern Shield or Ward. It's another Wyvern, so again Dragon Hunter weapons work here too. Skeletal Wyverns also require Slayer, this time level 72. You can get to the Ice Dungeon through the fairy code AIQ and then just by running north. They appear to be quite far from each other, but they still aggro you from this far away, so again you can largely AFK here. It's about a minute per kill, but it's quite far to bank, so although it's 15,000 GP per kill, it only works out at about 750,000 GP per hour, which is less than Fossil Island Wyverns, even though lots of players come here and next to none go to the Fossil Island ones. Next one is the best money out of all of them, but it also requires good stats and gear. But essentially this is how to turn one of the best money makers in the game into an AFK one, and works very well alongside the Avianti method, as you get ecumenical keys that give you fast access to the bosses in God Wars Dungeon. You're going to need a Serp helm for this method and your best range gear, but you also want to be fairly tanky too. If you don't have Fortified Missouri, I'd personally use some melee legs. I've picked a Fury over an Anguish for the defensive bonus, and a DFS instead of my Odin Wood for the same reason. You're going to need the best crossbow that you have, but even a rune crossbow can be done on this method. Get some Ruby E and Diamond E bolts, obviously Dragon if you have the better crossbow, if not just normal ones. A teleport method to get to Trollheim. A Toxic Blowpipe, Ecumenical Key if you have one, otherwise you're going to need to get the kill count there. Some runes and a rune pouch to cast Blood Barrage, so obviously you need to be on Ancient Spellbook as well, and a mage weapon to be able to cast it, such as the Ancient Staff. 2 to 3 normal ranging potions is more than enough, as you usually get a few as drops too. You'll also need 8 Sour Brews and 3 Super Restores, some bones to Peach's tablets, then the rest of your inventory in prayer potions. Plus, make sure you got a Mithril Grapple equipped. Head over to God War's dungeon, and if like me you don't have a Zami or Sara item equipped when you go down the ladder, just head west and then south, and there's only one Gorak there that usually attacks you. Grapple over the gap and go fight Kriera if there's no one in there. So the strategy you want to do is start off by standing under the boss, protect them from range, and using Rigor if you have it, or your best defensive prayer and offensive prayer if you don't. Equip your blowpipe and attack the mage, which spawns in the east of the room, and because you have the Serp Helm equipped, as soon as you see an XP drop you have successfully venomed it, which is going to slowly kill it during the rest of the fight. Because you're standing under Kriera, the boss doesn't attack you while you do this, and once that's done you can now equip your crossbow with your ruby bolts and attack the boss. Since you're fairly tanky, this method is quite AFK, although you can occasionally catch some spike damage. A half health switch to Diamond Bolts E to finish the kill, and make sure to only ever use your restore potions when you've used brews to heal up, otherwise when your prayer is low just use your normal prayer potions. Also try not to heal up to full near the end of a kill, as you're going to heal off the minions when Kriera is dead. After the boss dies, the mage minion that's being venomed should be low health, and if that's the case you could ignore it, but if it's a fast kill sometimes it isn't, so you can just hit it a couple of times first. Then get your mage staff on and stand west of the ranged minion and cast Blood Barrage. The other one will follow you over, so it will attack the melee minion as well, and the health you get back from hitting both of them usually brings you to full health. They have no mage defense, so you don't need any magic gear at all, and you still hit quite often. Make sure to pick up the bones after each kill and use bones to Peaches for food when you need it. Plus you can use your blowpipe mid-kill if you're quick for some extra heals on the mage minion. Initially when you start these fights and you don't have much inventory space, you can use a brew or 2 per kill, but don't panic, after a while between the food drops you can get, Peaches, Blood Barrage and blowpipe specs, you sometimes don't use any brews later once you have enough space to pick them all up. Black Chins will get you more kills per hour, but that's more click intense, whereas this one is cheaper and far more relaxed. In one trip I got 13 kills, which also gave me a kill count of 54, and if you use the Friends Chat Osrs Express, they can bring you more supplies and you just pay them for the privilege and give them a little tip, although they don't even ask for you to do that. That means since you just need a 40 kill count to go back into the boss room, you can stock back up, go straight back in, rinse and repeat. 13 kills took me 42 minutes with an average value of 280,000 GP. That makes this method 4.5 million GP per hour with max stats, but it does drop off a lot with 90 defense or less, and I wouldn't personally do it with anything less than 80 defense and 90 range. Next is the first mage one that we've had, but I personally like to do it with both range and mage, although you don't have to, it's just slightly better money. For this you need to be fairly tanky, and I recommend melee legs, melee helm, shield and boots, and the rest whatever range gear that you have. Again, I've used a really cheap setup for this, as it can be done at mid-level and has no requirements. You just need a magic weapon, and if you want to go range a crossbow and some decent bolts, the spell you cast really doesn't matter as your safe spot on, but obviously better spells will get you faster kills. If you're low level and have access to ancients, a magic weapon that auto casts like a trident plus access to blood spells will help you heal up when needed, without costing you a fortune in runes. You can also use Guthans here to heal up between kills too, as whilst you don't take a lot of damage, there is constant damage from minions that slowly reduce your health. You're going to need a rune throwing axe 2, an antidote plus or anti-venom pot, a stamina potion, ranging potion obviously if ranging, and some sharks plus 5 prayer potions if you're doing the range and mage method, but only 1 if you're doing the mage only method. I personally bring a melee weapon because sometimes it's a pain sneaking past the other bosses, so I just kill the ranger to make it a little bit easier, but you don't have to. Lastly, you want a pet rock or to claim one just outside of the long haul on the way through if you don't have one already. If you've not done Dagonoth Kings before, you can teleport with your life from the Fremennik questline, move your house to Relica and then just teleport there, use the fairy ring DKS and run southwest, or use Relica teleport tablets. I'll speed up this section as I know most players will have done it already, but slow down the video if you don't know the route. When you find a free world, go down the ladder, and you have to sneak around one of the edges, but when you go down the ladder, it's very common for one of the bosses to be in aggro range of you. So you have to keep going up and down the ladder many times until they're out of range and you can sneak around the edge. So this is why I like to bring a melee weapon, because more often than not it's the ranger that's in range of you, so if you kill that first it's much easier to get inside. Once you've done that or you've snuck past, go to the other side of the area and you want to stand here and attack Rex with a mage weapon. As he gets close to you, simply go to this tile over here and he'll be safe spotted. The only damage you're now taking is from the minions on the outside of the room, which do a little bit of chip damage every so often. If you do need to heal up after each kill, you can use those minions and just cast blood spells on them, or equip your guthans if you brought it and just heal up that way on them. If you're doing the range and mage method, next go over to the northeast corner using protection from magic and kill Prime as soon as he's near that corner, which he patrols quite often. You don't want to attack him if he's too far away from that corner, as it becomes a problem later. Once you've killed Prime, go pick up the loot, and this is why you don't want to kill him too far away from you, because Supreme might be in range of you, so just be careful when getting that loot. So the mage only method, just killing Rex, is currently 750,000 GP per hour, and if you kill the mage at 2, it's just under 1 million GP per hour. If you complete the elite diary and get noted bones, this method is far more profitable again, as you can stay here indefinitely with decent stats. Another one that you can do, which most people know about, is Firewatch Sentinels. Not the money maker it used to be, but still the most AFK method in the game. They just require completion of the Sins of the Father quest to access them. All you need for this method is the Blisterwood Flail that you make during the quest, plus the best prayer bonus and strength bonus items that you have. Then grab some super combat potions, high alt runes, and your medallion to teleport to Darkmare. Positioning yourself anywhere just outside of the altar means that you will be constantly getting attacked by the Firewatch Sentinels, which have a good drop table including the Blood Shard that's currently worth almost 6 million GP. Killing these is now only 600,000 GP per hour, but it's still decent money and good combat XP at the same time. Rune Dragons require Dragon Slayer 2 to be completed. That has some mid-level requirements, and for your setup, if you do want to be more AFK, you're probably going to want to use defensive gear, but it's still pretty chill with bandos that I'm using. Make sure to wear insulated boots, which reduce the damage from the special attack. You're also going to need protection from fire breath, ideally using super anti-fire so that you can equip a defender for more DPS. Although again, a DFS will mean you take less damage, especially if you're low level. You also need some sharks and chrome bands for some tick eats, plus 4 prayer potions and a super combat potion. Just use the 4th option on a dig site pendant to Lithgren and run through the doors, then pass the barrier, making sure to pot up before you go in and protect from magic. You automatically get aggroed here, and whilst you don't take a ton of damage, you do have to watch for the occasional spike damage, as while they don't hit very often, they can hit hard when they do. 10 kills took me 9 minutes, so around a kill per minute including banking. With an average drop worth 37,000 GP, it makes this one of the most profitable methods at 2.1 million GP per hour after costs. Next one is back to the good old days, and one that very few people do now, but it's still actually decent money. Gargoyles require level 80 Slayer, but are fairly weak for the level. You're going to want to have unlocked the Slayer reward Gargoyle Smasher to make this method AFK. All you need is your best melee gear, a rock hammer, some food and some super combat potions depending on how long you're staying, plus either a Slayer mask or nose peg to get past the aberrant spectres in the Slayer tower. The fastest way here is to just use the Slayer ring and then go to the top floor. It's quite quiet here these days, so you can stand in the middle of a few gargoyles with auto retaliate on and you'll pretty much be constantly attacked. The drop table's still decent. It contains a lot of rune items, bars, runes and other alcohols. You can stay here for hours without banking and can even bring alt runes and guthans to heal up, and you'll never need to even bank at all. And it's still 630,000 GP per hour as well, which isn't bad for something this easy. This creature has such low defensive stats that you can kill it with any combat style at all. I brought all 3 just to showcase it, but obviously you only want to really bring one yourself, and whichever one that you want to train up, plus any gear that you have that has decent melee defense. You also want a gold coffin, and if you don't have one of these already, simply buy a gold lock off the GE for around 18,000 GP and give it to Damp by the Shades of War minigame to get one. For the first run only, you need to get a key to access different shades in the dungeon. Currently Fire or Fair remains, I'm not sure how that's meant to be pronounced, sorry, but they are currently the most profitable, and to get that key you need a magic pylog and those shade remains for a key. To kill other types of shades you need the remains of whichever one you want to access and different pylogs depending on the level, which can also be bought on the GE. Normally one of each is going to be enough, but I bought 3 just in case, as occasionally you don't receive a key. So take those items plus a tinderbox and use your minigame to teleport to the Shades of Morton, head south and use the logs on any pyre, then the shade, followed by your tinderbox, and at the end you will get a key 9 times out of 10. Once you have it, you never need to do this part again. Then head up northwest to Damp and get your coffin if you don't have one, and this will store an extra 28 shade remains in it so you don't have to bank as often. Enter the area with shades that you want to kill by going through these doors, and the shades are aggressive, although they can be quite hit and miss sometimes as to whether they aggro you or not. If you kill the shades that I killed, it's 825,000 GP per hour currently, but even the lower level ones are 300 to 600,000 per hour, so don't be put off if you don't have the stats yet for the higher level ones. Next, we have green dragons, but not where you might expect. The best place to kill these currently, and you don't have to worry about PKs, is the Myths Guild, although this does require completion of Dragon Slayer 2 to access it. All you need is some Dragonfire protection and your best gear, plus a Myths cape, and head down into the basement and then over to the east side. If you position yourself on this square here, both of the green dragons can attack you, which is more AFK, although occasionally they do get stuck and then you have to attack them anyway. You can use a Ring of Dueling to bank, which is a little bit quicker, or just the Myths cape again and then head upstairs and bank in the Myths Guild itself. There's only 2 green dragons here, but it seems to be just enough time to kill one before the other one respawns. And believe it or not, this method is 715,000 GP per hour according to the wiki, and I was getting almost 900,000 GP per hour at green dragons in 2023. I mean, who knew? The next one is actually part combat and part skilling, but if you can access the Woodcutting Guild, all you need is a skills necklace to get there, the best axe that you can use, a super combat potion, some food, and just the best melee gear that you've got. Head into the cave in the centre of the guild, and in any room the Ents will attack you, but they also take a long time to respawn after they're killed. So after you kill one, click on the log that it leaves to harvest a load of logs, and then you'll automatically finish that and auto-retaliate against it when it respawns to get yourself another log, and then all you do is click on that again, rinse and repeat. Now this method is over 600,000 GP per hour, but only if you have level 75 plus woodcutting, as a lot of the money that you do make is from magic logs, and under that dramatically reduces the amount of money you make per hour. The next one requires access to the Ancient Cavern, and to do that you need to complete some of the Barbarian training, which is fairly easy to do. It used to be fairly annoying to kill this creature, but with the gear that we have now, Mithril Dragons aren't as terrible as they used to be. You can kill them with all 3 combat styles, but I find using the Fang because of its accuracy is probably the best. All you need is some super anti-fire, a super combat pot, food, and about 4 prayer potions. Either use the minigames teleport or games necklace to the Barbarian outpost, and then run south towards the waterfall quest start, and just before you get there, there's a whirlpool, which you can click on to dive into. Drink your super anti-fire, protect from magic, and then go down the stairs, and then up the next set of stairs. If you go to the 3 dragons just to the west, there's slightly less running around between kills. These, like a few of the other ones, occasionally do a little bit of spike damage, but it's quite rare, and they also drop sharks occasionally, which helps with food. The Dragonfall Helm is now worth a crazy 76 million GP, which has gone up so much since I last looked, and it means you make around 21,000 GP per kill, including the chewed bones. Obviously, very heavily RNG based because a lot of that money comes from the helm, which is quite rare even from the chewed bones that you get. I killed 17 in 14 minutes, supplies didn't cost much here, so even with banking that works out at 1.3 million GP per hour, not bad for something hardly anyone goes near anymore. Lastly is Abbey Demons using the range method. This requires level 85 Slayer obviously, as well as the Venator bow and your best range gear, plus some decent arrows, ranging potions and prayer pots. Head over to the Catacombs of Korend, the fastest way being to use the Xerix Talisman and then go north once in there. Go to either section that has the Abbey Demons in it, protect from melee and attack 1 Abbey Demon, and the bow will simply do the rest for you. Even though this method has been out for almost a year now, it still hasn't crashed the price of a whip, which sits at 1.5 million. Which is quite surprising given the range XP is very good here, and there's probably only Firewatch that's any more AFK than this. I killed 170 in 50 minutes, not paying any attention at all, completely AFK, and just from the whip drops alone, that would be 500,000 GP per hour. Now it's difficult to get the exact amount of this method, as like me you probably won't pick up a lot of the items, including the ashes, but the rune items and unsold heads add up as well, so I'd imagine it's somewhere between 600 and 800,000 GP per hour after the cost of supplies. This is all of the AFK combat moneymakers over 500,000 GP that you can do. Hopefully I didn't miss any and that this has helped you out.